All right, we are back. We're doing another episode of Trail Talk. We're doing one, if you can see, look around. We're not in Sand Hollow. We're out here at Three Peaks Recreation Area with Charlie Stevenson of Iron County. He also works for Triple S Polaris. He runs the Iron County Side-by-Side group, and he's been out for his job mapping these trails out here. I know nothing about them, so as always, you can follow along with this exact ride on Onyx. We'll upload it down in the description below. And as always, comms are provided by Cardo. But anyways, Charlie, I'm sorry for the communication and on our mix-up on Monday, but we're out here today, and I'm excited to see some new area.
That's cool. No problem. I'm glad you made it up.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about how you got into this, because I think, growing up, everybody's kind of like, it'd be really awesome if I could drive a side-by-side for my job, and then here you are kind of doing it.
Well, last year, Iron County, Mike Orthen came to me, and he's head of natural resources, and had talked to me about they were going to get grant funding to put a maintenance guy out here to take care of the trails. And he asked me if I'd be interested. So I told him, yeah, let's look at it when we get ready to do it. And this was in October of 23. So, the months go by, winter goes through. Mike gets a hold of me in February of 24. And we start chatting a little bit. And he says, hey, I got approval. I'd like to bring you on board. So I said, okay. And like everybody says, you'd like to do this for a job. But I will tell you, at the end of 24 season, I had put in over 5,000 miles out here on these trails, and I was tired. But the gratification I got to be able to do this and to be able to do these trails for people so they can come to Iron County and ride, bar none, is just gratifying to me anyway.
Yeah. So what's involved in your day in, day out for that stuff? We were talking a little bit earlier, and it's basically you were given these maps that are, a decade and a half old, and basically your job is, hey, are these trails still here? Go figure it out, go mark them.
Well, what Mike did is Mike gave me a segment, and Iron County has a color country trail system, and in the trail system, it's broken up into 5 segments. So 2 of the 3 segments I had never ridden before. I mean, I've ridden the Mark Gun, and I know all that. I come down here, Parowan Gap area I had done, and so we decided to go out, and I needed to learn the Old West in North Hills, which is basically out by State Line. So I spent the first probably month and a half getting my feel around that area out there. Once I did, then Mike came to me and said, okay, hey, let's start putting the Carsonites out. Let's start mapping the trails and getting it ready for people to ride. So the funny thing was I still was kind of green to it. So I told him, I says, okay, let me go out there, and off I went. And the next thing you know, I'm riding from basically Modena to the Beaver County, Iron County line north, traveling around, marking trails, doing my thing. And like I said, it was something that you only dream of, to be perfectly honest. So with that being said, he comes to me about a month and a half later, and he says, hey, these 2 segments haven't even been, the trails have been marked, but they haven't been marked as far as trail numbers and stuff like that. So me being the first time doing that, I went around, and I came from a desert background.
Okay.
Riding down in Las Vegas for 30 years. I raced in the desert, so kind of got a feel for, looking for trails and doing stuff like that. So yeah. I kind of put it to use, go up here and playing around. So I went around marking stuff, and the amazing thing was Mike is an incredible teacher. I've learned so much from him, and this year here, it'll be so much easier than it was for me last year. It was just something that I love to do. I started riding when I was younger, actually older than most people do. Most people start as kids, and I grew up in a family where my mom didn't want us riding motorcycles and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, my wife's got the same stuff going for my kid right now. She is losing that battle, I'll tell you right now.
Good. I hear you. So I started later in life, but it was okay, you know, and I got into riding when I moved to Vegas, and next thing you know, I'm out there racing, and then next thing you know, I'm going to different states riding and doing things. And it's always been a passion of mine, riding. And so the next passion came to me was I'd like to take people to places they've never been. So that's where the guiding part of it came into it, which worked hand in hand with the riding part. So, you know, from there it just escalated. And like I said, now I'm constantly riding. I mean, my personal machine, I just got rid of, had 13,000 miles on it when I was done. I have an 800.
Not 1,300, 13,000.
I have an 800 at home that I started with when I bought my first side-by-side back in 2012. And in 4 years, I put 12,000 miles on that car. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Dude, you have got to be, okay. I thought that I was putting a lot of miles on my machine. I have 3,800 on 2 years. And that's like not even touching what you're doing.
No, I mean, I spent 5,500 last summer, just this summer alone.
So you're more than double what I'm doing. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I get out and around quite a bit. And, you know, in that process, you learn a lot of stuff, learn a lot of trails. And that's why, you know, I had reached out to you because I want to get Iron County on the map because there is so much riding here that people are not aware of. And if you go on Onyx, there's not a lot of trails shown out here. So it's kind of funny that a couple of weeks ago I talked to the Onyx people. So now I'm a trail guide for Onyx. So I'm going to start mapping this whole area.
Oh, that's awesome. That'll work really well with what, you know, while you're doing it for Iron County. It's like, oh, well, is Onyx here? Nope. Okay, let's add it there too.
Yep, exactly.
That's really cool. So you spend a significant amount of time out here. What's the, like, how many, like, what people do you see out here? And like, what's the breakdown you think of like different types of recreational people? Like, so for example, Sand Hollow is like, it's Jeeps and side-by-sides. That's just kind of what it is. But this kind of is reminiscent of my like back home up in Utah County where you get all sorts of people. And then like the horse community is also pretty prevalent. What does that breakdown look like of like the different types of recreation?
Down here, the majority of the people I see are in, you know, UTVs. They're side-by-sides. Okay. I'll get some dirt bikers out here in this area in different places. But the majority of it's side-by-side. It really is. Okay. Like I said, it doesn't matter where I'm at, whether I'm far west as Modena or I'm up at, you know, up at Panguitch, running around the Market Gun. Majority of the people I see are side-by-sides.
That's so cool to me. I understand that there's maybe some like feelings around like the influx of side-by-sides, but to me, all I can do is see that as like, okay, this is, you know, however many more people that now have access to come and see all this kind of cool stuff. Like in Utah County, you know, you can go out west to Dugway and you can see, you know, the wild horses. You can go see the geode beds. You can go see Fish Springs, all that kind of stuff. But I think that having a side-by-side or having the ease of access of side-by-sides for whatever perils that brings for the off-road community, it definitely makes it easier and more appealing to more people just to be able to come out and recreate, which I love.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, with the conception of the side-by-side, now families can enjoy it together. I started with my kids with four-wheelers and was always at the dunes and riding stuff like that. And then when the side-by-side, and I'll be honest with you, when the side-by-side craze came out, I was totally against it.
Were you really?
Oh, yeah, I was totally against it. I was one of those diehards. I had two-wheelers. I had four-wheelers. I even dated back as riding three-wheelers. But I was totally against the side-by-side thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, the more I looked at it and saw what it brought to the table for families, then I realized, you know what, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But I will tell you, it has taken trails that I was used to seeing that were single track or even just 50-inch wide. And now you got these big, you know, dirt roads and trails, which that's the nature of the beast, you know, when you got these things.
Yeah, as long, I mean, there's some feelings around that too, and I would never advocate for somebody like seeing like, oh, there's a single track. Well, guess what? It's going to be a double track today type of attitude.
Right. I agree.
But I think that there's a lot of training and etiquette to be taught among this influx of new people coming in. But I still see it, even with all the lumps, I still see it as beneficial to the off-road industry overall.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, this whole thing in the side-by-side world has just been, I think it's neat. Now that I've been in one, I've had one for a while. Do I miss my two-wheelers? Sure, my four-wheelers I do. But in the end of it, that's where it's moving. And the side-by-side brings that family core together, which, you know, I'm about family. So I think it's really neat to be able to do stuff like that with your family. Even though it's nice to do it on two-wheelers and four-wheelers, riding the car, talking, the camaraderie you get with your friends, your family, you can't put a price on that.
No, well, and especially in a car like this one. So I probably have a little bit of the same things when you were like, oh, the side-by-sides are like taking over. I'm seeing at the beginning of the year, beginning of last year, I saw the Expedition, and I, no joke, I went to the Polaris dudes. They were testing them at Sand Hollow, and I was like, so like, what is this like? What does this bring me? You know, because I'm like, I don't know what to do. It's like halfway a UTV, halfway a sport side-by-side. But I've driven in a lot of them now, and I'm like, okay, I was wrong. Like, I was wrong. These are amazing. Like,
oh, totally. I get you, because I'll never forget it. And you know, a shout out to Colton, Francis, and Whitney for putting me in this car. When Colton and I started talking, and he brought to the plate about this car, I kind of looked at him cross-eyed. I really did, and I'm sure he expected it. You know, coming from where I come from, but he said, just give it a chance. See what you think about it, because you've ridden a lot of different vehicles. See what it's like. And I got to tell you, Abe, when I got in it, I fell in love with it, because here's the history to this. A year ago, I was talking to Paul, one of the guys at Triple S, and he was on me to get in one of these cars. I guide for Triple S's rally. So he told me, dude, you got to try one of these. Well, dude, budget just doesn't have it. And I thought to myself, I don't want to get into something that I want and I can't have. So,
yeah,
you know, a year later goes by, this thing comes up with Triple S, and Colton comes to me across and says, hey, I want you to check this out. I want you to try it. So I take her for a ride. And granted, she was on the streets and stuff, but it was just, I was like, wow, this doesn't feel like what I thought it would feel like, to be honest. So
no.
I take the wife out. The wife looks at me, of course, first thing the wife says, we can't afford this. We're tired. I said, I know. Colton will take care of me, he said. So we'll just let this go and see what happens. I got this car, and I got to tell you, Abe, this thing is, I've taken it. I haven't taken it to the dunes yet, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to do it here.
Okay. I'm curious to see how you feel about that.
When I go, I'll make sure I let you know. But
okay,
as far as trail riding, I don't care what you put this thing in. Now, I've got a lot of seat time, obviously, with the miles I put in.
Right.
I don't care what you put this thing in. It is the neatest, most comfortable, underrated machine that I can honestly tell you, because I have a Ranger that I use for Iron County. Okay. And I love the car. Don't get me wrong, but it's a work vehicle. That's right. You know, that's how I use it. So I don't take it like this kind of stuff, but I started taking it more and more, using it to see what it would do. So here I am playing with this thing, and I'm thinking, wow, this car is more nimble than my Trail Boss, and it's bigger. So for me, it's like, it's, I'm telling you, it's a neat animal. And I've told people, if you haven't ridden one, go try one. And then you come back and tell me you don't like it, and I'll have a hard time believing that.
No, I don't. Trust me, I know, because I was that guy. I was like, dude, I don't know. It looks too much like a utility UTV. I'm a man. I like my Turbo R. You know, I like the big sport car. But I'm just happy my wife didn't ride in one of these before I bought my Turbo R, because I know she would have said, you have to go get one of those Expeditions.
Exactly. I've ridden the Turbo Rs. I love Turbo Rs. I love the R period machine. And that's kind of what I was leaning towards. But, you know, Colton wanted me in something that would advertise, and get out there around. And I do a lot of trail stuff. And I mean, let's face it, you get in those turbos and stuff, they're overkill for this kind of stuff we're riding here today. So
yeah, well, and they don't shoot me internet, but they don't ride as good in this type of stuff.
I don't know. I've ridden in them that, have had suspension work done. They seem like they ride okay, but you're right.
They do, but these so you see these little grapefruit sized boulders and stuff.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, I feel like the Expedition really shines in just soaking up that plus or minus 6 inches in the suspension travel stuff.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's like I said, it's it's an awesome car. I won't complain. And like I said, I tell Colton every chance I can, I can't thank him and Whitney enough, for putting me in there and doing this job for them and having this automobile. Because I'm telling you, this side-by-side, bar none, has got to be one of the most comfortablest cars that I've ever ridden in.
Yeah. So speaking of Colton and Whitney putting you in this, how does a retired Charlie Stevens go from I'm retired with no jobs to now I have 2 jobs? Granted, they're fun, but now you work for Triple S too.
That's a long story. Colton gave me a call one day and wanted to chat, so we kind of chatted and understand there was a history with me and Colton dealing with clubs, local clubs and stuff here, doing things. So I just figured it was another conversation that I could help to contribute to Triple S. And, one thing led to another. And then the next thing I know, I wake up one morning and now we're talking about putting me in one of these cars. And I was like, I'm retired. How am I going to do this, And to be perfectly honest with you, I told him, and Colton will tell you, that's all I said. I can't afford it. I can't do it. It's just, and he says, don't worry about it. Relax. I'll make sure this works for all of us. And he did. And like I said, I cannot thank Triple S and the Francis family enough for what they've done. I mean, everybody that's there has been so accommodating. I mean, I work with my man, Andy, Chris Mock, DeSoto, all them. I mean, these guys are just, Paul Heater, they're just a great family to work with. So I'm very lucky that I'm an outsider coming in because they've taken to me really, really pretty cool. So, yeah. But it is, you're right. How does a retired person do this? I still can't answer, Dave. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, what's funny to me is you're like, yeah, I retired. I'm going to take a break. And then you're like, not even within the 2 years, you're like, well, I got 2 more things lined up. I guess I don't quit.
Yep, exactly. So, it's been fun, very gratifying. And like I said, when Colton came to me, I told Colton, hey, I got to talk to Mike. I don't want this to interfere or upset the county, because that was my first gig. And Colton said the first thing is what he said to me. Okay, make sure you talk to Mike, see if it's okay with Mike, and we'll go from there. And I went to Mike, and Mike was awesome. I mean, he totally understood. He knows I have a big passion for this industry and this type of what I do.
Yeah.
And so Mike was like, go do it, just make sure you fit me in here somewhere.
Yeah.
And
you still got to check out your trails, bro.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So I promised Mike that, I would never, leave him hanging or anything like that. But it has been, it's been a short couple of months, but it's been a heck of a whirlwind. I'll tell you, I'm enjoying every bit of it.
Yeah. So to circle back to that job with Mike, because it seems like, I mean, you got to be out there on the trails. You're covering ground. What's kind of like, I don't know, have you ever ran across trails that you're like, dude, this is just overgrown, it's not coming back? Do you ever have any of those conversations where you're like, hey, I know you mapped this 15 years ago, but it's kind of like nature's reclaimed it now? Or
and we do. I went out in some areas last year, and that's another reason why Mike had me go check certain stuff out, was I need to know what's cleanable. So in other words, what we can clean up to use, what's too or far overgrown. So I basically went through and prioritized all these trails to make sure that we could keep them first and foremost, but in the same respect, we didn't want to damage anything. If it was too overgrown, Mike said, leave it alone, we'll close it. So that's basically what we did. And I spent, like I told you, probably probably a month and a half, 2 months, just inventorying trails and then reporting back to Mike. And it's kind of ironic you asked, because I'm getting with Mike on Friday. We're going to go through and do the final print for the Bumblebee segment, and we're taking some stuff out and just leaving it alone because it's too overgrown.
That's cool. For me, that's a cool thing to see, where it's not just like, oh, hey, this was a trail, so it's going to be our trail, but it's kind of like, yeah, you know what? Clearly no one's used it. It's overgrown. There's no, we're not losing anything necessarily by letting nature have one back.
Right, exactly. And Mike is a stickler about that. Believe me, if it can be trimmed, and it's kind of nice, he's put his trust into me to make that call, but he's a stickler. If it's something that is too far overgrown, he says, let's leave it alone. Let's just leave it alone. We have other stuff we can work on and other trails we can use. And so, by inventorying everything, it was kind of nice, and it was helpful for me because then I could learn it in the same time, so to speak. So, yeah. But like I said, I'm a very lucky person, very blessed person to be able to do 2 jobs of something I love to do.
Yeah. What's your, you're talking about, just discovering these new sections, going all the way out to Medina. There's a lot of empty desert out there. You ever found anything interesting? Anything?
Not really. I mean,
okay.
I don't run into a whole lot of stuff out there for 2 reasons. One, Mike has me staying on the trail.
Right.
So I don't go venturing off too far off the stuff, because he wants to make sure what I'm checking is what he wants. And I take pictures and I bring it back to him. And we go through like a debrief every couple weeks and kind of walk through what is where. And I'm telling you, Mike has a photographic memory. I mean, I don't know. Mike told me he hunted these grounds when he was a kid. Now, I think Mike is around 70. So how that man remembers everything is beyond me.
That's crazy. That's what? So we're 25. So in the 30s? No, sorry, my math's bad. The 50s?
Yeah,
that's wild.
It is.
Do you
it really?
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So you also, if I'm not mistaken, you run the Iron County side-by-side group. Is that correct?
Correct. That is correct.
How has that been? Because I mean, I don't have an experience running any Facebook groups or any organized ATV clubs or anything like that. But I imagine that really Charlie Stevens, the retired guy, kind of has 3 jobs. Is that a pain to keep up with?
No, it's really not. I think we got 350 members in it. Really
wow.
Good people. They come from all walks of life, all different types of riding. So they help me a ton. I mean, there's no 2 ways about it. Obviously, as far as doing events and rides and stuff like that, it still comes from me. But these people in this group are fantastic. I can't say enough about them. I just have to learn, and like a lot of people, I got to learn to let some stuff go so people can help me run it a little bit more efficiently. I mean, I don't think I do too bad a job, but you can always do it better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yes, so to add that, then you add that on top of it with my other 2 jobs, and I stay a little busy.
You're a busy retired guy.
Yes, and that's what everybody tells me. I thought you were retired. I went this last weekend down to see my kids down in Vegas, and my son goes, "Dad, I thought you were retired." I said, "Well, I thought I was too, but one thing led to another, and here I am now, probably as busy as I've ever been." But like I said, I don't complain. I mean, there's a lot of people that would love to sit in the shoes I sit in, believe me.
For sure. We've been driving around, and there's been a lot of it's just cedar trees. I mean, we're Cedar City and stuff like that, and it's empty. But you guys also, your Iron County stuff you're doing with Mike, you were talking, goes all the way up to Duck Creek Village. If you had to choose between okay, I'm taking a day and I'm riding in Iron County, and if I said you can't do both, you can't go and do 350 miles in a day from one side to the other, where would you rather ride, out in the desert or up by Duck Creek?
I got to tell you, I am a desert rat by nature. Okay. I love the desert. I really do. It plays its part. through the winter, obviously, because you can't ride in the mountains because of the snow. So,
Yeah.
you know, it plays its parts. But I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, if I had a choice, if I had to make a choice between the two, it would definitely be the mountains, without a doubt. But I'm telling you, the desert is a big spot in my heart, and it's just something that I love to do. And I'll never lose that drive to keep doing that. I really won't.
That's awesome. I totally understand. Duck Creek, that area is just beautiful. Talking about all the riding you've done, I've got a number in my head because it's the furthest I've ever done. But what's the furthest? Have you ever tracked the furthest you've gone in a day?
I've done about 200 miles in a day. You know, it's when you're out here by yourself, you got to be careful, obviously.
Yeah.
Because I come from a background where you rode by yourself all the time. So,
Yeah.
you know, I prepare, I bring a spot device with me, communications, I got satellite, you know, I make sure I cover. But, you know, it's just those things the little things that people take for granted. They think, oh no, you know, I'll go riding and wherever I end up, I end up. And it's like, you know, I can't emphasize safety enough with people when I go out there. But 200's about the number I would go. We did a ride last year that was only, I think it was 150, 175. And we actually rode from Parowan to Bryce and back.
Oh, wow.
Ride.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was a great ride. Actually, we did it on, if you remember back, we had the Eclipse last year.
Yeah.
I did it on the Eclipse day, and I parked at a spot that I knew up by Panguitch, because I lived up at Panguitch for 7 years before I came back to Cedar. And
really?
We parked at this spot up there and watched the eclipse from up there, and it was really cool. But like I said, that was the longest, probably the majority of the people I ride with had ever gone in one day. So
really?
It was fun to take those people out, because they asked me, well, are we going to make it? Do we have enough gas? I said, don't worry, I've got
Do I have
spots.
money to bring 5 extra gallons, 20 extra gallons? What do I do?
Right, exactly. So I made sure we got to Panguitch, they could get gas. I made sure we got to Bryce where we got gas. Coming back, we went through Hatch, so we were able to get gas there. So to give that peace of mind to those people, you know, because they had never, a lot of these people up here, 40, 50 miles, 60 miles is a stretch for them. Me, where I come from, I'm used to doing 80, 100 miles for breakfast. It's just my thing. You know, like this morning I got up, I had posts to do all the way out Parowan Gap. So I'm out there offloaded in the dark, and I take off. And by 9:30, 10 o'clock, I had already had 80 miles in already.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that comes from like where you grew up in Vegas. I will say my dad has a house in Logandale, and it seems to be like it's that area. There's something about that, like you say, that area draws out the I'll do 80 miles before breakfast type. Because my dad is the kind of person that's the same thing. In Logandale, he'll just wake up, and then his favorite thing in the world to do is just like, see ya, and he just disappears and then comes back. I mean, it's probably not safe for him to go out all by himself, but he packs the extra stuff he needs, you know. Right. But he's the same way, where he's like, gets up and he's like, and it's noon and I've gone 150 miles and I'm going to do another 200 before I come home.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of times that I love Logandale. When I lived in Vegas, we'd go to Logandale quite often. Spent a lot of time down in the sand dunes at Dumont. But Logandale, when I was riding Logandale, there wasn't very many people going to Logandale yet. So it was really kind of neat. Just like when I first started riding Sand Hollow, there was no water.
Yeah.
I mean.
Oh, really? Okay. So you were back there with the originals when the Sand Hollow Reservoir was just sand dunes.
Correct.
Okay. Because I've ran into 3 people that know that. Everyone else has always been like me, where they've come in after the fact, and Sand Hollow is, you know, the reservoir's always been there, State Park. And
oh, no, I rode that place back in the 80s. We lived in Vegas, we'd go to Coral Pink, we'd ride for 2-3 days, then on the way back, we'd stop and pull off, because that used to be a dirt road all the way out to Sand Hollow, where the reservoir is. And
really?
We'd spend another day, and I'd ride all through where Sand Hollow is to this day. And that's why it's kind of ironic for me, because I saw Sand Hollow before there was ever any water in it. So it's it's another great spot. I mean, I love Sand Hollow. I really do. When Dumont started getting too crowded for us in Vegas, I started coming to Sand Hollow, and I fell in love with Sand Hollow. I really did.
Yeah, it's an incredible area. We moved to where we moved just to be close to that state park, but it's cool to bump into the people that like have the history on it that I don't because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
We're back on. We're crossing our track again. We've been going about 30 minutes. Is there anything? I mean, you work for Triple S, Iron County, run the Iron County side-by-side page. Anything else you want to plug? Where can people find out about you, what you're doing, things like that?
If you're interested and you're up here in Iron County, or you want to ride the Iron County or the Color Country Trail System, get a hold of me on Iron County side-by-side. I'm typically over at Triple S at least 2-3 days a week. I know my man Andy's putting up schedules. We're promoting rides for customers and even people with Can-Ams, Hondas. It doesn't matter. We'll take you out and take you around, show you the scenery. All I can say is, come on out, check it out. It will surprise you the amount of trails that are out in this area that a lot of people just don't know about.
Yeah, we've rode 30 minutes, done about 10 miles, and looking at my map, we've covered maybe one of the 100 trails in this little area right here.
Yep.
So
there's a lot in here. Like I said, I don't spend a lot of time here because it does get congested in here. And like this weekend, they got the wee rock climbing thing.
Yep.
But I thought it'd be nice to come up here and tool around. There's not going to be many people up here during the week, and get a glimpse of it. But like I said, if you're in the market for machines, stop by some Triple S. If you want to ride, come by and see me. Hit me up on Iron County side-by-side. I'm more than happy. I'm out there every day of the week, whether it's riding for Triple S, if I'm working for the county, I can have people follow me around. I'll take you wherever you want to go out here if you want to go riding.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for having me out. This has been really cool. I'm excited to come up here. I need to spend more time up this way. It's not really that far from Washington. It's only like 40 minutes.
No, it's not far at all. And I'll be down in your neck of woods here again, probably in another week or two. I want to take this big machine down in the sand. It was kind of funny. I was talking to the guys at Triple S, Andy and Paul, and Andy went to that testing where they brought these up and ran them at Sand Hollow. Because I was asking, dude, how is this big thing going to go around in the sand? And he says, don't worry about it. The way you drive, you'll have no problem. And so did Paul. Paul said the same thing. Don't worry, you'll have no issue. Just do what you do. And I said, you'll have fun. So I can't wait to get down there and play with it. Because that's the only thing I haven't touched on with this big car. I mean, I took it this last weekend after the snow. We went up and rode Chloride Canyon. And it gets tight and stuff, and there was snow up in there, rocky, trail rocky, not that stuff you guys climb, but trail rocky, and this thing was a dream. I couldn't believe it. So basically I've done my checklist on that. So my last checkpoint is going to be going to Sand Hollow, and that's what I want to do next.
Cool, man. Well, I'm excited. When you come down, hit me up. But
for sure.
Anyways, we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Don't forget to check out Triple S Polaris. Don't forget to check out Iron County Side by Side. And stay tuned for the next one.